What is up, everybody? We are back on the Lasagna Show. It's been a minute. It has absolutely been a minute. Over here solo today, coming over here to talk some Yankees baseball. It feels like it's been months since the Yankees last played. It feels like it's been 4 months. All we've been doing is watching other teams celebrate and watch other teams do great in the playoffs. So definitely not ideal in Yankee land. So where do we even start? The team that beat us is going to the World Series to face the Dodgers, who are the same team that kicked the shit out of us last year and gentlemen swept us. So the annual Dodgers Invitational in October will be hosted once again by them, but they're starting on the road this time. So Dodgers will be going to Toronto to start that. The Blue Jays beat the Mariners last night and advanced to the World Series. So that is, something they've been waiting for a long time. But let's get back to the Yankees facing those Blue Jays. So, there's been a lot of controversy. There's been, Brian Cashman quotes. There's been Aaron Boone quotes recently in their postseason, lick your wounds at the podium bullshit that they do every year. There's been controversy about Anthony Volpe's shoulder getting all fucked up, and if it mattered, if it impacted his ability to play or whatever. There's been talk about how do they fix this team going forward? How do they get these guys to hit in October? Because it seems like they always forget how to fucking hit. Can their process, can the philosophy of the front office be changed to get some of these guys to continue what they do in the regular season into the postseason? Can they flip a switch? Is there something in the algorithms that the nerds upstairs are getting into to build these rosters? A lot of questions around the Yankees. Our best pitcher in the playoffs was a rookie who joined the team halfway after more than halfway through the season. So that's pretty pathetic, considering the amount of money that they were forking out to a Max Fried and a Carlos Rodon. Very disappointing to see the starts that they had. So let's get through it a little bit. The Yankees failed to hit again. They did have some garbage time runs against the Blue Jays and tried to, bring back a little bit of a comeback there in one of those games. I believe that was the second game. Only scored one run in the first game. Yankees scored 7 in the second. Tried to mount a comeback late, but they gave up 13. You give up 13 in a postseason game on the road, things don't look good for you. They did finally get a win at home, and then they only scored 2 runs in the deciding game. So it's tough because you look at the roster construction, you look at some of these guys, you look at their careers in the postseason, and the majority of the guys in the Yankees lineup, they didn't have the track record of guys that you expect to perform in October. You had Stanton, who's been historically good in the postseason. He didn't even show up. You finally had Aaron Judge show up for the postseason. He hit that, majestic home run over the foul pole. Very dramatic moment in that game that they won. Everyone's like, oh, Judge finally got his moment. He finally stepped up. He finally did his thing in the big moment. And it was all for naught. Pretty much wasted. That game will be an afterthought, considering the way things ended. So that's pretty unfortunate that his moment came in a ALDS. It wasn't even the ALCS. Came at home in the ALDS, and it ended up not equaling anything because they ended up getting eliminated by the team that's going to the World Series. So definitely disappointing there. But I'm thinking, what can the Yankees do to find guys who can hit in the postseason? And it's not an easy thing to do, obviously, because you're facing some of the best pitching in baseball when you are hitting the postseason. It feels like some of these guys press. They're getting in the batter's box. They're squeezing the bat hard. They're nervous. They're trying to do too much. And it's not equaling success. They're not loose. They're not out there, doing what they do in the regular season. And, a big point that's been debated over and over again on social media the last few weeks is, are the Yankees built to play 162 games, face a lot of teams' 4th and 5th best starters, and, kind of beat up on cream puffs, puff up their numbers, regular season numbers look great. And then when you get to October, you're facing the other team's best relievers. You're facing the ace. You're facing their number 2 starting pitcher. And everything is so magnified in the series. It's all about matchups. You're not going to get the 4th best starter. You're not going to get some middle reliever that doesn't belong on the roster that's probably going to get DFA'd in a couple months. It's one of those things where, can the Yankees reconstruct a roster that will actually hit in October, or is this just going to be, their thing? Are the Yankees just built to win 95 games, compete for a division? If they don't win it, whatever, get to the playoffs, have a few playoff games, make some money for Hal Steinbrenner. And if they win, cool. If not, it is what it is. The revenue is still good. That's what it feels like. And, it's very frustrating for a lot of fans because it feels like they are content with, putting asses in the seats, having those great attendance numbers, selling merchandise, ticket sales. Yankee Stadium has basically become a tourist attraction in New York. It's been that for a long time, but that's one of the reasons why you're never going to see the seats, empty in the summertime, because people are coming to visit New York. They want to go see the Yankees. It's almost like it's essentially a tourist attraction. So Hal Steinbrenner knows that. They want to see the Yes Network ratings great. They want to see people in the seats. They want to see chicken buckets being sold. They want to be selling jerseys. They want to do all this. And if they get into the playoffs and they have a handful of playoff game wins, then cool. A little bit of extra money. Hal goes and buys an extra yacht, make the bondholders happy, and call it a day. So that's what a lot of fans feel. And, Cashman has to come out and he has to talk about, Hal Steinbrenner cares. But where was he? They had their postseason failure press conference, and Hal Steinbrenner didn't even manage to show up for that. So, maybe there's a family thing going on. Who the hell knows? I don't know what the excuse is, but if you want the optics of you caring to, be translated to your fan base that largely doesn't think you care, maybe show up for that and answer some tough questions, because everyone is under the impression that you're just running the team like a business. It's the family business. It's going to be passed down for generations. The priority is running it like a business. You got a lot of partners. You got the bondholders, whatever. And the priority has become, be profitable, be a money-making machine, So, when that perspective is out there, it would be nice for the owner to come up to that podium, do that press conference at the end of the season and answer some tough questions, which he didn't do. So that's a huge miss on his part. So get back to the offense. So I'm looking at some of these guys. An offense is 9 guys. You expect Stanton to hit in the playoffs. Judge, you expect to figure it out eventually. He finally did this year. He hit 500 in 26 at bats. He had a 1.273 OPS. He did have that 1 home run over the foul pole. I was giving him shit. I'm always hard on him because I expect him to be, he's the captain. He's the regular season big time home run guy. He's all these different things. He's a superstar. He's the face of the Yankees. I expect him to show up in October and to be that leader, to be the best hitter on the team, to be that elite power hitter, to move runners, to, get on base, do all those things. Finally did it. He finally fucking did it. And it was nice to see, but it was short lived because they got eliminated early. So you have Stanton, who you expect to hit. You have Judge, who finally hit and it was wasted. Who else in the lineup is going to be contributing? So I'm looking at Trent Grisham, leadoff guy, a guy who hit 30-plus home runs, was a surprise this year. His career OPS in the playoffs in 94 at-bats is 562, not good enough. Cody Bellinger, fan favorite, did a lot of good things in the regular season, very versatile on defense, has a track record of being in the playoffs. He's won a championship in 2020 with the Dodgers, if anybody counts that. So you're like, okay, Cody Bellinger, he should be a good ad, right? Well, in 270 at-bats in his postseason career, he has a 660 OPS. Not great. You think about Jazz, 30-30. He's got power. He's got speed. He's got athleticism. He can do all these things. He can steal bases, He's got the swag. He's got the chains, Jazz is Jazz. He's doing his thing. Postseason career hasn't been a lot of at-bats, 88, but he's got a 542 OPS. Not great. Austin Wells, it's only been a couple seasons, but he's got 72 at-bats in the postseason. He got some run last year against the Dodgers, even in the World Series. 468 OPS. Not great. Not good enough. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 guys in this lineup outside of Judge, outside of Stanton, who are largely, subpar in the playoffs. So looking back on that, everyone says, oh, the Yankees every year, they hit in the regular season, they don't hit in the postseason. Looking at some of the guys in their lineup, a good handful, more than half of them don't have a good track record of hitting in the playoffs. So, if those trends continue, a lot of them have almost close to 100 at-bats or more. That's a trend that is likely to continue to happen more in the future. So how do you stop that? Well, I've said a couple of years ago, I would like the Yankees to target players who hit in the postseason, guys who have experience in the postseason, guys who are not afraid of the moment, and they deliver. We need more Stantons. Stantons don't grow on trees. Obviously, he's going to end up hitting 500 home runs for his career, and he's done some great things from the postseason. But last year, having a Juan Soto, having someone other than Stanton to rely on in that lineup to deliver was great. We took Yamamoto yard. He had that very famous home run and hit in Cleveland. It was nice to have Juan Soto in there, knowing that he had the postseason experience, knowing he had a championship, knowing he can hit good pitching, and being able to rely on him, and he came through time and time again. Gleyber was a pretty decent postseason hitter. I don't have his career OPS in front of me, but there were times against the Royals, against the Guardians, a couple times against the Dodgers. I think he just missed hitting a homer, where he can hit in the playoffs. He showed it. He moved runners. He was advancing runners in scoring position, all those kind of things. All the things we want to see in the playoffs, he was doing. So you subtract Gleyber because he can't play defense. Juan Soto doesn't come back because you didn't give his mom a clothing allowance, and you didn't give him the suite. I would have given him the damn suite. I would have given his mom an all expense paid trip to wherever the fuck she wants to buy all the clothes she wants. I would give him $800 million. I don't give a fuck. Juan Soto was a guy you wanted in the lineup for the next decade plus because he hits in the playoffs. And, if Stanton has an off postseason, which he did, Stanton this year had a 536 OPS in the postseason 2025. Not good enough. And you can't rely on an older guy like Stanton to continue to do this going forward. After last season, you're like, oh, in seasons prior, we can pencil in Stanton in the lineup in the postseason going forward. He's just going to keep doing it. He's in his mid-30s, and his body is going to keep breaking down more. It's one of those situations where how long can you rely on Stanton to be that elite postseason bat? And this year they were relying on him heavily, and he didn't come through. Judge finally did, but you have Grisham, Bellinger, Jazz, Wells, Volpe, not Volpe. I'll talk about Volpe in a second. Stanton. So Grisham, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 5 or 6 guys in your lineup out of 9 hitters that were not contributing offensively, and you can't win baseball games in the playoffs if the majority of your lineup is not hitting, which is pretty obvious. So getting into some of the other failures. Volpe. Let's talk about Anthony Volpe. He wasn't an abject failure for his career in the playoffs, 728 OPS, which is nothing to laugh about in 75 at-bats. Can't really get down on him for that. But this postseason, let me take a look at that. So we had a 608 OPS in the 2025 playoffs. No. It was 538. My bad. 538 OPS. He hit 192 in 26 at bats. So, not good enough again. That's another guy in the lineup that is frustrating at bat to watch. He chases a lot. He's flailing at breaking balls in the dirt. He's chasing fastballs up, and he misses fastballs down the middle so often. And there's really no way to fix that. I mean, if you're a major league hitter and you're getting fastballs down the middle, or you're getting hanging sliders down the middle, you're getting hanging breaking balls, you're getting a changeup belt high, and you're missing these pitches, there's just nothing we can do for you. You can't fix that. So that's very frustrating. A big point of contention this offseason has been Volpe's shoulder situation. So Boone comes out and says, I didn't think it impacted the way he played. Brian Cashman comes out and says, I think it did impact the way he played. So for the organization that's always, pounding their chest about having great communication, they hired Boone to be a great communicator with the players. Everybody's always on the same page. The front office is in tune with the the manager and the analytics guys and the GM, blah, blah, blah. Everything's good. Everyone's talking, everyone's on the same page. And they come out in their off-season presser after having an absolute failure of an October. And you would think they'd be on the same page with that, but they weren't. And it kind of makes you wonder why. So I think that he was able to play. I think the cortisone shots worked. We did see an uptick in his play when he did come back after the cortisone shots, after he's had days off. That's kind of been the thing with Volpe. After he has days off, he hits. But you can play with the labrum the way it was. During the season, they said that, it almost looked like it was an old injury from maybe some of the earlier years, when he was in high school or in the minors, but you're looking at the body language. You're looking at the way he's swinging. You're looking at the way he's swinging and missing. Because when you swing and miss and you got a shoulder issue, especially front side, that front shoulder's coming out, you're whipping the bat behind your back. If you've got that torn labrum, that's going to hurt bad. And you're going to wince. Fuck. That's not good. Sometimes when your labrum is bad enough, it'll kind of slide out. It feels like I think it's called a subluxation, where it kind of pops out a little bit. So we didn't see that with Volpe. We didn't see the wince. We didn't see the excruciating pain after swinging and missing. He was swinging big. He was swinging with two hands. He was swinging with one hand. It's his non-throwing arm when he was playing defense. He was still getting his glove down to the ground. He was still fielding ground balls. It's not like he was restricted of range of motion. It was one of those situations where you're watching the player and you're thinking about the issue that he's dealing with physically. You're thinking about the injury. You're thinking about how painful it could be. You're thinking about all these different things. And he looks normal. And you're like, okay, well, maybe it's not affecting him as much as, some people might think. And, you look at his career, he's had 3 pretty subpar seasons since he's been a big leaguer. And if we can look at his regular season numbers here really quick. So that was my biggest question was, okay, if he's dealing with this excruciating pain, if it's been such a problem for him, surely he'll be way below what he's done as a big leaguer, his first couple of years, right? But you look at his first 3 seasons as a Yankee, rookie year, OPS was 666. A little fucking creepy there, a little satanic, very strange. It was a sign of things to come. So you got 666 OPS in 2023. 2024, 657. Pretty damn close. 2025, 663. Only 3 points off of his abysmal rookie year. So we're looking at 3 pretty consistent seasons in terms of OPS. The average on-base percentage, slugging, it kind of all varies, but it's averaging about 660 for 3 seasons. So you can't say, oh my God, Volpe had a horrible season this year because he was hurt. Well, if you look at the overall numbers of his season, it's right along with what he's been doing since he's been a Yankee. It's not a huge sample size, but it's a big enough sample size. I mean, it's only 3 seasons, but if you consider the plate appearances, he's had almost 1,900 plate appearances with a 662 OPS to show for it. So I'm tending to lean, it's going to be crazy to hear this. Not a Boone guy. Everybody fucking knows that. I'm going to lean Boone here on the Volpe shoulder thing. Boone is in the clubhouse, unfortunately, a lot more often. He's seeing these guys. He understands the treatment they're going through. He understands the situations with their rehab, what's bothering them, the pain levels. He's in the dugout. He's seen them performing. They're coming in the dugout, talking about what's going on. Boone says it didn't affect his play enough to bench him. And if you look at him playing, he didn't look like he was in crazy amount of pain. He didn't look like his range of motion was restricted. It looked like Boone's right about this. I think he was. So it makes you think, okay, why would Brian Cashman come out and say, oh, no, I think it did. I think it did impact the way he played. And this is after Boone said it didn't. So Cashman's not in the dugout. He's not in the clubhouse. He's not seeing the day-to-day. He's not seeing the rehab. He's not seeing the work. He's not talking to the player in the dugout. He's not interacting with him. And Cashman is going beyond the manager's assumption that it didn't impact Volpe, and he's saying, you know what, I think it did impact him. It's because Brian Cashman has a big ego. He's trying to rationalize the situation to not make him, to make him look like I have another reason to put Volpe back out there as a starting shortstop going forward. He's not going to quit, passing on Seager, Trey Turner. Correa didn't work out much because he's, always banged up. But Brian Cashman, put all his eggs in the Anthony Volpe basket, and he needs another reason to put him right back out there to see if it finally clicks so he can be validated. I think Brian Cashman came out and said it. The shoulder situation did impact Volpe negatively because it's another excuse to say, you know what, 2025, wipe it away. Wipe it away. We're not even going to consider it. He was hurt. He needed surgery. We got to give him another chance once he gets healthy next year. And I think that's wrong. I think Aaron Boone was right. I think Volpe was good enough to play. The range of motion wasn't restricted. He was right on par with what he was in 2024. He was right on par with what he was in 2023. The defense was a little shaky early this season, but you would think if you're playing on a fucked up labrum and you're getting late into the season, the more you play on it, the more it's going to hurt, the more it's going to impact what you're doing. And he played better defense down the stretch. So I think Brian Cashman is saving his own ass. He's got an ego thing. He needs another excuse to give Volpe another go next year. And it's sad, because watching Caballero, at the time when we got him at the deadline, everyone thought he was just a bench player or whatever. But his slug, his on-base percentage, his stolen bases, his defense, he moved runners, he made contact, he didn't miss pitches down the middle. Caballero was doing everything we've been waiting for Anthony Volpe to do. And it was a very obvious choice. If supposedly Volpe's hurt, if supposedly he's got this labrum thing, then surely you should put Caballero, the healthier player, in there, right? Especially since he gets on base at a higher clip, especially since he was a Yankee, he was slugging more. He was moving runners. Situational hitting was good. The defense was good. It was the obvious thing to do. So, of course, the Yankees do the opposite, and they stick to their guns, and they keep running Anthony Volpe out there because there are egos in that organization that need to be fed, which is unfortunate. Really unfortunate. But thank those of you who have joined me today. Usually I like to do this a little bit later in the day, but I have some work shit to do. Usually 6:30 p.m., 7 p.m. Pacific time. I like to do these. I know that's pretty late for the East Coasters out there. So, I'm not sure who all is still getting home from work, or you're with family or dinner or whatever. But those of you who have tuned in, thank you guys for being here. It is nice to see all of you. John says it's scary how they can't get their store together. Boone said it didn't affect him. Cash said it did. Caballero should be given a legitimate shot to win the shortstop job. Absolutely. And he's going to start the year next season as the shortstop because Volpe has surgery and he's going to, be delayed probably until May or June. But it's going to be very interesting to see if the Yankees, as soon as Volpe gets healthy, they throw him right back in there, pull Caballero out, put their golden child back in there, have him play shortstop. Give him that another chance, And as Volpe usually does, he usually hits a little bit in the first couple months of the season, then he tapers off and he becomes shit as we get into the middle of the summer or late in the season. So I'm expecting them to do that. I'm expecting the ego trip to continue. I'm expecting Volpe to take back the shortstop job as soon as he's healthy. Caballero is going to go right back to the bench and be a utility guy. Volpe might hit for a month or two, month and a half. Everyone's going to think, oh, this is the year Volpe finally figures it out, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to fall off like he always does. And by September, we're going to be begging for Caballero once again, which is a bummer. It's unfortunate, but this is the Yankee way, the mecca of baseball. Keep putting shit players out there and hoping it sticks eventually. Marissa, how's it going? She says, seems kind of like the situation with Judge throwing where Boone said one thing, Judge says something different. Yeah, that's very true. Very, very good point. The Judge thing was scary as hell because anytime you see a flexor issue or a forearm, sometimes you can compensate. Sometimes, that bundle of tendons and ligaments and all the muscle and all the stuff going on in there can lead to an elbow situation. And everyone was fearing Tommy John. No one wanted Judge to get that. Obviously, it's going to take him out for a long time. We've seen other guys like Bryce Harper get it and then move to first base. And, a lot of people have talked about Judge eventually moving to first base, but it's not something you can just learn overnight. It's not one of those situations where you just stick Judge at first base and he's going to start picking the ball, picking bat throws out of the dirt and, doing all that kind of stuff, fielding ground balls, making good throws on the inside lane at second base on double play balls, getting back to the bag. No. So, stretching out to get short throws. There's a lot that goes into playing first base, pickoffs, all those different things, knowing your assignments, knowing bunt coverages. So Judge is eventually, if he's going to move to first base, it might take an off season. It might take a full spring training. It's going to take a lot of work for him, especially a guy who's 6'7", to reach down that low, reach into the ground, be picking bat throws and stuff like that. So I don't foresee it happening anytime soon, maybe in the next few years. I don't know. I think he likes to play outfield. But it was interesting, like Marissa said, that Boone said one thing and Judge said something completely different. So again, we see a situation where the communicator in chief, Aaron Boone, who got the job because he's very relatable to the players and he's over here, the expert communicator, failed to do that again. So with your captain, the most important player on the team. So very strange that happened. Jacob, how's it going, man? Thanks for tuning in. Marissa says, I was impressed with McMahon. He's never had a playoff run and now getting to be in one. I loved some of the plays he made. Oh, yeah, his defense is unbelievable. He did poke out a homer, which was well-timed. It was great to see from him. I think the Yankees are going to stick him at third. They're gonna take the Gold Glove defense. He was nominated for a Gold Glove in the National League after his time with the Rockies. And they're going to hope that, his pull side homers come in the Yankee Stadium with the short porch and they can pencil in a lefty at the bottom of the order who can have a little bit of power. He's got control, so I know the Yankees like to acquire players that have multiple years of control. I think that was very appealing to them. But yeah, McMahon's defense is unbelievable. He's got a great arm. He's got great instincts. His hands are fantastic. His range is good. So definitely encouraging to see him continue to play some defense down there at a position where, it's been DJ LeMahieu. It's been, a bunch of different guys. Jazz wasn't very good over there. So it's nice to have a real third baseman finally to shore up some of the side of that infield. John McMahon says, how would you improve the 2026 Yankees roster? I expect your input. I want to know what you do. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. I was going to get into that a little bit later. It's a little hard to say this early in the offseason, not knowing who's going to be a free agent, not knowing what teams are putting guys out there in terms of trades. I think a priority would be to add another starting pitcher. Garrett Cole is going to be a little bit delayed. Carlos Rodon's having the loose bodies removed out of his elbow. So it's a couple guys in the rotation you're going to have to do without for the first few months. So it leaves you with Will Warren, Cam Schlittler, Max Fried. I don't know what's available on the trade market. A lot of people keep saying Sandy Alcantara. I don't know. I mean, he had a pretty decent finish to the season after coming back from TJ. We all know it's just a little bit of a struggle when starting pitchers get back that first season after TJ. But I would definitely add a starter or two. I think they have good depth in the minors, but I'm not sure if some of those guys are going to be on innings limits. I don't know if you want to call them up early in the season and to 100 innings, 120 innings by a certain point, and then all of a sudden you get scared. So it'll be interesting to see that. I think a priority needs to be adding power arms to the bullpen, more power arms. Duvall was good in the playoffs. He was good towards the end, which was great to see. Was cutters, cutter slider guy. Fastball's got a little shape to it. You got Bednar out there who's throwing 97, 98, which is cool. But I need a 100-mile-an-hour dude. I need a couple guys coming in there blowing 99 to hundo. There's a handful of them out there. There's like the Halverson guy in the Rockies. His ERA sucks, so I don't know. He's very wild too. Guys like that. Does Matt Blake think I can fix this guy? I can turn him into something? I don't know. It's hard to tell who else out there will be available. That's part of it. That is Brian Cashman's job, making the calls, get on the phone with these teams, who's available, what's the cost going to be, and then seeing if you can pull from your minor league system to go acquire some impact players. We've seen in recent years that paying relievers is usually not the best idea. I thought Tanner Scott was going to be a slam dunk addition. The Dodgers ended up signing him. and he's been absolutely terrible this year. The velocity looked like it was down. I remember him throwing 99 to Ohtani in 2024 with that vicious slider, thinking, holy shit, if we had a lefty that go multiple innings and throw 99 to 100 with a slider like that, especially the lefties, that would be huge to have for this team. Like, because we all, a bunch of splitter guys, change up, whatever. And he looked awful, Then you go get Devin Williams, you trade for him, you put him as your closer, he's got the airbender pitch, changeup looks great, track record of being pretty good reliever, and he comes out and he shits the bed. So going after relievers, a little bit of Russian roulette, but I think that the high-powered velocity guys, more often than not, four-seam fastball, slider, if they have a third pitch, cool. But if you go heater slider combo, maybe a little sinker in there, two-seam, a little splitter, a little split change-up thing, that's even better. But four-seam power fastball for the strike zone does not slump. And it's good to pair that with a slider because the slider looks like a fastball for so long out of the hand. The arm speed is the same. You throw a little wrinkle in there, you start getting the red dot. By the time you recognize slider out of the hand, it's too late. So it's great to pair a hard four-seam fastball with a good hard slider because it's tough. It's tough to see as a hitter. You got 99 at the knees, and then you got a slider going off of the same tunnel. Looks like a fastball for a long time. Boom, it's gone. So, very tough to hit. I like seeing those guys in the bullpen. They can come and get swing and miss. You don't have to hope that a changeup was working that day. You don't have to hope that a splitter's working that day. You don't have a guy up there throwing big loopy curveballs the whole time. It's coming at you hard, right at you, forcing fastballs. And the Mariners, who just got eliminated, they had a couple guys in there that did throw pretty hard, but they were erratic. It would be nice to see some guys that can throw hard and they can hit their spots. Because when you do face a team like the Blue Jays, who has a lineup full of guys who don't strike out and don't chase much, you're going to have to pitch in the strike zone. You're going to have good stuff, carries through the zone, get soft contact, get pop-ups, get guys late, get guys behind the count early, get them 0-1, get them 1-2, and finish them. If you can't finish them, throw a good pitch at the knees, get a ground ball, get a pop-up, So those are the kind of things we needed of our bullpen. Mark Leiter Jr. didn't get much run this season. You got Duvall out there. Hold your breath. Sometimes he's wild. Sometimes he's good. It's tough. You don't know what you're going to get. Devin Williams looked like he was a better setup guy than he was a closer. Who knows who? Someone's going to pay him out there. I don't think it'll be the Yankees, but we'll see. Bednar looked good. Bednar's got 3 pitches, or maybe 4. He's got the four-seam. He's got the splitter. He's got a big loopy curveball. I think he's got a slider or a cutter in there too. Usually you don't see a relief pitcher with that many pitches, but Bednar has them. And there were some questions about his high leverage, dependability coming from the Pirates or the Yankees, and how is he going to survive in the big bright lights, whatever. But it ended up to be a good situation. He was fantastic. So there's not a whole lot of Bednars out there, but I watch random teams all the time. Throw 2 or 3 guys of their bullpen. They're throwing 100 now. Seems like every team's got a handful of those. So the Yankees can find a couple of those that profile well as middle relievers, setup guys who can bridge the gap. To a Bednar, that would be fantastic because anytime you can shorten the game, starting pitcher goes maybe 5-6 innings, you can get a 7th and 8th inning locked down before you get to the Bednar in the 9th. In some situations, you can go Bednar in the 8th to get a 5-out save, and then it shortens the game even more. So bullpen has to be a priority. Kyle Tucker is going to be a guy out there that a lot of people are talking about. Sorry. And you're comparing him to Bellinger. So obviously Kyle Tucker has the higher ceiling offensively than Bellinger, which appeals to a lot of people. He was an Astro, he pulls homers, this and that. He'll be good in Yankee Stadium. But again, another guy, historically not good in the postseason. So do you hand him $400 million, $500 million to have a good regular season and then flop in the postseason? I feel like we've got enough of those guys. But at the same time, Bellinger's not a good guy in the postseason either. So it's going to be a situation where I think the Yankees are going to value Cody Bellinger's versatility defensively. I think they like he can play center field, he can play left, he can play right, he can play first base, he can steal bases, he's athletic. And I think that appeals to the Yankees more because of his versatility rather than having Kyle Tucker who'll just play corner outfield and then postseason anything goes. But Kyle Tucker was very injury prone this season as well. I don't have it right in front of me, but I did have him in fantasy, and he was on the IL 2 or 3 times, it felt like, for a while. So, the Yankees are going to see that. They're going to consider that, when they're thinking about who they want to pay. So it'll be very interesting. I think most of the guys in the lineup will be set in stone. I think we're going to see a Spencer Jones possibly playing center field. Bellinger probably comes back and plays left. Judge will be in right. Dominguez will be like a fourth outfielder, rotational guy to get guys off their feet, especially Judge. You don't want him playing 150 games in the outfield. We're going to see Ben Rice start at first. Jazz will be at second. Caballero will start at short. McMahon at third. Austin Wells behind the plate. He'll rotate with Rice off and on. There's just not a whole lot of flexibility in the lineup. I think they have the guys they want. I don't see a Kyle Schwarber making him fit. I don't see a Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette is obviously a much better offensive player than Anthony Volpe, better offensive player than Caballero. But I think they're going to be like, okay, well, if we're trying to clean up the defense with a McMahon, if we're trying to clean up the defense by moving Jazz back to second, getting Bellinger out there, putting guys in place to have good defense like Austin Wells behind the plate, good framer, rates out as one of the better offensive catchers. If we're going to go the fix the defense route, why would we go to a Bo Bichette who can't play defense? So that's not my rationale. I don't know how much of the shit defense I can stomach after watching some of the bullshit we've watched the last several years, but if the rest of your baseball diamond had solid defenders and we had to, stomach some Bo Bichette fuck ups over there in exchange for, I don't know, an 800 OPS, maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's worth the trade off. I don't know. It's going to be a situation where can both stay healthy. How bad are the fuck ups going to be? Because shortstop's a pretty important position, especially when you got guys like Max Fried who rely on, getting those ground balls. Carlos Rodon's been throwing a changeup, getting right-handers to roll over, hit ground balls left side. So do you want to go the bad defensive route again in exchange for the offense, which is kind of what they did for Glaber. So Glaber was, I don't know, a lot of people say it was dumb. Say what you want. I don't want to insult the guy's intelligence or whatever. He was just kind of a space cadet. He was a little out there sometimes, but he did hit in the postseason occasionally, and the offense was good at times, good enough to make up for some of the defensive fuck-ups, but it got to a point where you just couldn't stomach it anymore, and you had to move on. You had to get Jazz from third and put him to second where he's more comfortable. But even Jazz, though, he'll bobble a ground ball or he'll make a fucked-up throw. So, the defense isn't completely fixed, but it's better than it was. So, I don't know, but do you look at a lineup of Bellinger, Spencer Jones, McMahon, Wells, Volpe again? Like, is that good enough compared to what we've been watching the last few days, the last few series? Looking at the Dodgers, the Red Sox are going to be better next year. They're going to get Roman Anthony back. They're going to have some guys healthy. I forgot the other guy, Marcelo Meyer, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't know. Sorry if I butcher that. Blue Jays are going to be good again. The AL East is not going to get any worse. It's going to continue to get better and improve, especially the Blue Jays with what they're experiencing right now. They're getting in the playoffs. They're winning ALCSs in Game 7s. They're getting to the World Series. So don't expect them to go away anytime soon. But can the Yankees run a Volpe out there who's been notoriously shit in the regular season, a Wells who really hasn't turned the corner yet, a McMahon hasn't hit much at third, Spencer Jones will be a rookie. You got a lot of question marks in that hypothetical lineup. And, a lot of things need to go right. A lot of guys need to stay healthy. A lot of things have to pan out with some of the younger guys for that lineup and that, core group to be good enough to compete with some of the best teams in baseball. Is it good enough? Who the hell knows? You hope by midseason your rotation's in good form. You hope they can add some relievers and kind of bolster that middle relief late setup option kind of area. So I don't know. Maybe they don't score a billion runs again, but they pitch well and they play good defense. Who the hell knows? But it's one of those things where if you look at what the Blue Jays have built with their lineup, yes, they hit for power, but the guys just don't. You can't strike them out much. They don't chase often. They fight you through the whole at bat. They foul off tough pitches. They make contact. They force ground balls to the infield. They hit doubles in the gap. They fuck you up. As a good pitcher that throws hard, has good stuff, has all these different, all these great things. they make you change what you do because, most starting pitchers in the Major League Baseball have great stuff and great track record. Look at Max Fried's regular season. His regular season was fantastic. The ERA was great. The Ks were great. He had 19 wins, I think. The whip was good. Everything was good with Max Fried in the regular season. Look what happened to him against the Blue Jays. He got fucking shelled, which is why I call him Max Fraud. Call me what you want. Call me the negative guy. But they just handed him a huge contract, handed him all these years, all this money, whatever. First couple of years, he's making less money to help the Yankees build a team, whatever. That's nice of you to do, but the back end of that deal is going to be very expensive. Carlos Rodon's getting paid a bunch of money, and the two of them got absolutely fucking blown the fuck up against the Blue Jays, and they made them work. They didn't stack up strikeouts. They didn't get a ton of swing and miss. They had to pitch to contact. You had to hit your fucking spots. Carlos Rodon, you cannot start games throwing 92 miles per fucking hour, 93 miles per hour. Throwing that shit right down the middle, bro, doesn't work. Does not work in the major leagues these days. I know that you're going through a transitional period after not throwing 98 anymore. I get it. CC Sabathia went through the same thing. A lot of power pitchers, once they lose their fastball, they have to adjust. They got to do it. And Carlos Rodon's changeup was good. The slider's been good. Regular season was good. When you get to the playoffs, when you're facing the best of the best, when everything is magnified, every single fucking thing, every pitch is so important. You cannot be throwing 93 miles an hour pieces of fucking cheese down the middle of the great hitters. You just can't have that. It's not acceptable from a guy making that much money who's at the front end of a rotation, before the season. Max Fried and Rodon, if they both work out, this can be one of the best rotations in baseball, blah, blah, blah. Well, the best player in your rotation was a rookie who played half the season at the big league level. So how about those big, highly paid guys figure it the fuck out and stop being choke artists? Carlos Rodon, postseason career, 8 games, 7.53 ERA. That's awful. That's terrible. You can't be relied on at that clip. For the money you're making, that's not good enough. Carlos Rodon, in 2025, 9.72 ERA in his, in the games he pitched. That's awful. That's disgusting. That's despicable. Max Fried, 2025 playoffs, 6.75 ERA, and that includes his good start against the Red Sox. That Red Sox lineup wasn't all that. You look up and down the order, you got some young guys, you got some fringe guys. They didn't have Roman Anthony. They didn't have Devers is in San Francisco. You got a lesser version of the Red Sox lineup than we've seen in years past. Roman Anthony hit that bomb in the middle of the season at Yankee Stadium. So, you don't have a Devers, you don't have Roman Anthony, and Max Fried, pitch well against them. But you got a real test against the Blue Jays lineup. You got to prove it. And he got face fucked against the Blue Jays. It was awful to watch. It was disgusting. It's terrible. 6.75 ERA in 2025. But for his career, he has 22 starts. Max Fried, career 22 starts in the playoffs. I know he had the great start in the World Series. Good for you, bro. That matters. It was great for the Braves. It's awesome. That's fantastic. But we're looking at the body of work. 22 starts in October, including that. He's got a 5.31 ERA. That's not good. If you're going to come to the Yankees, if you're going to be the high-paid guy, if you're going to be a front rotation guy, Max Fried became the ace after Carlos Rodon went down. You cannot be a 6.75 ERA guy in the playoffs, especially without a Garrett Cole to save your ass. That's not ace stuff. That's not 211, 215, whatever the fuck he got type stuff. That's why I call him Max Fraud. And a lot of people out there, everyone's like, oh, he's so cute. Look at his smile. Look at his little, hairs on his face. His facial hair is so adorable. Oh my God, he's so attractive. Bro, can you pitch in October? That's all I give a fuck about. I understand the fan accounts and all the bullshit and everyone loves all that type of shit, but at the end of the day, a 6.75 ERA in October, it's not good enough. I don't give a fuck what you look like. I don't give a fuck if you're in GQ. I don't care if you're a supermodel. I don't care. That's bad. So I'm calling Max Fraud, whatever. Until he proves me wrong, I'm going to keep calling him that. And I'm nobody. So it doesn't fucking matter. But, I'm just going to say Max Fraud because I'm pissed the fuck off at him. Carlos Rodon. Call him Carlos Bro Bum. Figure out how to hit a fucking spot, bro. 92, 93. Down the middle. Hanging sliders. Leaving changes belt high. Doesn't cut it, especially against a great lineup in the playoffs. Enough. Figure it the fuck out, bro. How old are you? You're in your early 30s, pretty much. You've been in the league long enough. Figure it the fuck out. Garrett Cole, postseason career, the same amount of games as Max Fried, the same amount, 22 games, 2.77 ERA in the postseason for Garrett Cole. We got a little jaded with him. He had some great starts in October against the Dodgers. He had some great World Series starts, and we lost both of those games, which is unacceptable. The manager fucked it up by putting Nestor in to lose game 1, and then game 5, on him. He didn't cover first. You got to get over. Anthony Rizzo, ranging to his right, got the ground ball. Garrett Cole's got to be at first. You got to flip, get the out. But Garrett pitched well. 2.77 ERA in 22 games. Max Fraud, 5.31 ERA, and the same amount of games, 22 games. It's awful. It's terrible. It's disgusting. I don't want to see it again. He's got a long way to go with the Yankees. Long way to go, buddy. And great regular season. Tip my cap to you for the Cy Young consideration, but you can't be laying eggs in October like that, bro. That doesn't fly with the Yankees, man. It's go time. It's been 16 fucking years. We need guys who are going to step the fuck up. Like a Cam Schlittler. Can we talk about Cam Schlittler a little bit? This guy has got fucking balls of steel. But before we do that, let me read some of these comments. Sorry, I got in a little tangent there. It's great having you guys in here. Honestly, my work has been absolutely fucking crazy lately. I haven't been able to do this very often. Doesn't help the channel or building my fucking whatever. I don't care. I just do this for fun. I do this to interact with you guys. I do this to get shit off my chest. I don't do this for all the, I'm not chasing anybody. I'm not trying to copy bullshit. Not doing any of that. Do it for myself. Do it, have fun with you guys. If it's got 300, 400 subs on YouTube, I don't give a fuck. I don't do this for a career, so I don't give a shit. I'm having fun with you guys, whatever. Let's see what we got here. Robum and fraud, complete emasculation. That is an understatement. Chris says, hopefully Weaver's back with the Yankees for your sanity. I was the first Weaver jersey guy. I ordered the jersey of Luke Weaver, and people thought I was a crazy fucking person. And he actually pitched very well in 2024. Something happened in 2025. I have no fucking clue. Was it the hamstring? I don't know. But he came out after one of his bad starts. He looked terrible again. And it's crazy because he was throwing 96, 97, which is, usually when he's having success, it's right around there, which is cool. But he wasn't hitting spots. His fastball, he's elevating his fastball at 97 and still getting hit. It's flat as fuck. I don't know if he can add a changeup, a slider, a cutter. His cutter looked like shit too. So I don't know what he can add outside of his changeup to get guys off of his fastball. But he was elevating fastballs and they were getting smoked. Throwing fastballs down the middle, getting smoked. Changeups, leaving them up in the zone, smoked. Everything he threw was getting smoked. And a lot of it came back to tipping his pitches, which can, obviously have a very detrimental effect on what you're trying to do. If guys are picking up little things here and there and they're understanding what's about to be thrown to them, it's easier to hit, obviously, especially in the major leagues. So tipping is a big problem. Sounds like they got in his head a little bit about tipping. They were messing with his mechanics a little bit, maybe coming preset, putting your hands in different spot, doing different things to try and fix the tipping issue. And it looked like it got into his head a little bit. And he seemed frustrated after a bad start. And he was coming out talking about how, the organization has been working on him with some things. And there's some things they're trying to figure out, blah, blah, blah. We, in a 16-year World Series drought, we don't have the time to be throwing relievers out there in the playoffs and watching them get fucked up because they're working on some shit. That's not the time to do it. Do it in the bullpen. Do it in sim games. Do it in front of the bullpen camera shit that they always do, the track man. Go figure it out somewhere else. The playoffs and against good lineups and big games is not where you work on your tipping issue. If that's what it was, that's crunch time. That's winning time. That's no margin for error time. That's be on your fucking best time. Not the time to work on that shit. So why did Aaron Boone keep putting a guy in the fucking game who's got a problem he's obviously trying to work out? It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible, especially when you've seen the last several outings he had were shit. His second half ERA, shit. you look at his struggles, and it was a thing that was going into September, late August, September. He had a little stretch there where he's playing like the Orioles and the Twins and the White Sox, where he had a couple decent outings. But if you look at the body of work and you look at the struggles, especially after he basically lost that game late against the Red Sox, I think it was game 1. You can't keep going back to that guy. Something is wrong. The team knows about it. They're working on things behind the scenes. And people are saying, "Oh, we have to have." No, you don't. You got Devin Williams who was pitching well as a setup guy. You got Duvall, who was pitching better. You had Cruz, who was pitching pretty decent with a splitter. You got Bednar for possible multiple innings. That's 4 guys in go time, crunch time, important baseball games where you can go to them. Cruz wasn't the best in certain moments. Duvall's a little sketchy. Williams had his struggles, but those guys, compared to how bad Luke Weaver was struggling, were better options at the time. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure this shit out. Aaron Boone keeps sticking with his guys. He keeps putting guys in moments, just like Nestor Cortez in game 1 of the fucking World Series. I'm going to keep talking about it because I'm fucking scarred for life, all right? Yeah, you keep talking about that shit. Yeah, it was a horrible fucking experience. And it was a very preventable situation where Nestor didn't pitch for months because of injury. And you put him in that moment against Freddie Freeman. The World Series, guy hasn't, been pitching in Major League Baseball games for a couple months, and you're going to insert him into that situation. Always trying to outthink the room, always trying to be the smartest guy, being smarter than smart, always sticking to your guys no matter how shit they are. This is the type of shit we can't have. And Luke Weaver, he talked about wanting to be a starter again. Cool, bro. Go do it somewhere else. Go work on your tipping. Go work on being a starter. Go somewhere else. We don't need that anymore, bro. We need guys who throw 99 with hard sliders. That's it. That's what we need. The change-up specialist guys, the flat fastballs that get fucking smoked, the guys that can't throw fucking strikes and hit the corners. Don't need you anymore. Sorry. It's time to get high-powered, high-octane fucking stuff in that bullpen. Stop with the gimmick off-speed guys. Stop with the sinker baller guys. Get some guys in there who miss bats and fucking blow you away with the high cheese. Throw a nasty slider. Get some swing and miss. Find them, Brian Cashman. That's not my fucking job. I don't know who's available out there on these teams. I don't know what teams are looking to part with guys. I don't know what the offers are going to be. I don't know who's going to be a free agent. There's a lot that we don't know. So it's hard to speculate and say, I need this guy right here, because you don't know if he's going to be available. But that's the job of the GM. Go make the phone calls. Go rub some elbows. Get some fucking hard-throwing, high-octane stuff in that bullpen. We had a Betances and an Andrew Miller and Chapman back in the day. We've had that before. Go find it again. That's your job. That's Cash God. If you got fired, he'd be hired by another team, tomorrow. Cool, bro. Go be great then. Go find the guys you need and build a fucking team that wins a championship. Brian Cashman hasn't won shit since the core 4 retired. People don't talk about that enough. And the core 4 was built by Gene Michael. So everyone wants to, sing the praises for Brian Cashman. Everyone wants to kiss his fucking feet. Everyone wants to talk about how, he's a great GM, blah, blah, blah. To who? What has he won? He hasn't won shit. After Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, Posada, all these guys are fucking Mauro Rivera are gone. What has he won? Nothing. So go out there and find some bullpen guys that will make a fucking difference, buddy. Oh, let's see. Going back through some of these comments. Dylan says we can't expect Judge to just keep hitting the way he does. He'll be coming off the WBC as well. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be 34 next year. Aaron Judge, 34 years old. Can we think about that for a second? Let's take a second. 34 is not old in normal people terms. But when you're a pro athlete and you get into your mid-30s, you're starting to see the end of the road there. We just all get accustomed to Aaron Judge, seeing him every day, hitting home runs all the time, blah, blah, blah. No, 34. He's 6'7", almost 300 pounds. Do we understand how big of a human being that is? Do we understand that gravity is not kind to you at that age when you're falling onto the outfield grass running at full speed? Probably not great for a guy that big and heavy to be doing that too much in his mid to late 30s. I don't know if he'll be a full-time DH once Stan's gone. I don't know if he'll go move to first base and get some wear and tear off of his fucking feet. But that is a body and a frame and a large male human being that is probably not going to age well. We hope he does, but you need to err on the side of caution. You need to work within a window here to maximize what's left of his prime, probably the next 3 or 4 years. I think he can still hit, until age 37. So that gives you 3 years, maybe 38, 4. But then again, they asked Brian Cashman, "Oh, do you feel any pressure? Do you feel any urgency to, maximize this Aaron Judge window here?" And he says, "No, I don't feel that at all. I don't even think about that. I just think about putting the team together." Bro, Aaron Judges don't grow on trees. This is a generational type bat. This is one of the best right-handed players of all time, right-handed hitters of all time. Power, contact, RBIs, on base percentage, home runs, whatever. All these different things. This is a guy that won't be around much longer. There is a window you need to win now. Garrett Cole's going to be pushing 40 here soon as well. Stanton's going to be off, I think, after 2027 or I think it's 2027. He's going to be gone, And Cashman is just like, "Oh, don't care." He was very cavalier with talking to Jeter when Jeter wanted an extension. If it wasn't for Hal Steinbrenner saving the Aaron Judge contract, I think he was in Italy on vacation and he got the Judge deal done. If it wasn't for that, Cashman was like, "Cool, whatever. I'm not going to pay you that." So asking Cashman about windows and him saying, "No, I don't care about it," basically. Can the guy be any more fucking unlikable? Does the guy gives no fucks about public perception. He just goes out there with his bald ass head. He goes up there with his fucking glasses and he just spills out a bunch of bullshit from the podium and fills your head with all the nonsense fucking cliches. After another failed season, year after year after year after year. "Oh, championship or bust is not a thing around here anymore. We got moral victories." You're a fucking clown, bro. You shouldn't be here. You got a lifetime contract because Sal is a fucking sap. He's weak as shit. He's a fucking low testosterone beta cuck. That's why Brian Cashman basically has the keys of the fucking car. You can do whatever the fuck he wants because he's basically the owner. The guy runs everything. Hal's like over there in a yacht, just counting his $100 bills. So it's just so fucking irritating. Thinking back, there's actually a few Brian Cashman quotes I wanted to get into. Just going back to what I was saying, just irritating. Okay, let's see. Brian Cashman reflects on the Yankees in 2025 season. "We've had success and failure. We had a good team, but fell short of our ultimate goal." Cliche. We all know that ultimate goal is a crapshoot to you. You don't prioritize actually doing the things you need to win. You do just enough to make the fucking playoffs. You collect your few series of playoff series revenue, and then you fucking lick your wounds afterwards, and you count all your fucking revenue. I'll leave it for the masses to debate what ultimately came of it. Yeah, because you know that it's a fucking failure, and we call it a failure, and we want you to be held accountable. But in your mind, it's not a big deal. That's what's so fucking irritating about this guy. "Proud of a lot of things we accomplished." Proud of a lot of things we accomplished? Like what? Name them. What were they? Winning a wild card series and getting your fucking ass kicked by the Blue Jays? Proud? Accomplished? Were you watching the same baseball team? Was this the same season? Were you watching 09 tape again when the core four was winning championships? The core that you didn't fucking build? And you look at his face. He just doesn't give a fuck. He's condescending. He's egocentric. He's a fucking narcissist. He'll look you in your face and with his eyes call you a fucking peasant. You can see it through the way he fucking looks at people. It's disgusting. Proud of a lot of things we accomplished. Are we fucking serious? What are we watching? This is the same. Are we watching the New York Yankees or are we watching the teams that kicked your ass? Because the teams that kicked our ass are probably pretty proud of what they accomplished. One of them's in the fucking World Series right now. Where you were last year because you fucking cakewalked your way across the Royals and Guardians to get to the fucking World Series. That was a fucking gift handed to you, wrapped in a fucking bow. Just pathetic. Just gets me, this guy is just nauseating. Like, "Oh, why are you so negative all the time?" What is there to be positive about? We just fucking lost with the ALDS to the team that kicked our ass the whole fucking season. And the GM comes out and says, "Proud of a lot of things we accomplished." Oh my God. Jesus Christ. This guy just drives me fucking nuts. Brian Cashman says, "I think so." When asked if he believes Anthony Volpe will be the Yankees shortstop once healthy. I believe in the player still. We believe in the player. It does not mean we don't play with all aspects of roster. What more do you need to see? The same players that are the same age as Volpe, Zach Neto, what's his face, Tovar in Colorado, Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz. There's a few other ones. They're the same age, and they're better offensive players than Anthony Volpe. Volpe's not close. Volpe hasn't finished the season close to a 700 OPS, which is still below league average. That's still below league average. And it's become the high bar for Anthony Volpe. A subpar, below league average OPS for Anthony Volpe has become what we hope for Anthony Volpe. Hope. That's the high bar there. That is pathetic. Listen, we still believe in him. We believe in the player. Blah, blah, blah. You are trying to support your egotistical decision of sticking with your guy and being right eventually. It's just, oh God, Caballero was the better. And Caballero's a guy, he went unacquired. Puff up your ego with that. Go put him at shortstop. Go put Caballero at short and get off on your ego with that shit. That actually was a good move. But you're sticking with Volpe. You're putting him right out there again with a fucked up labrum, putting him in the playoffs. You're going to stick with him again next year. What is wrong with these people? You're analytical. You got all the answers to everything. Everything's all figured out. Always puffing out your chest. We're proud of our process. Your process fucking sucks, bro. You haven't won shit in 16 years. Go find another process. But it won't happen because the same fucking people keep coming back over and over again. Nobody gets held accountable. Nobody gets held at their fucking feet to the fire. And this is why we find ourselves in this position after the season every fucking year. Every year. So do with that what you will. Oh, Brian Cashman on his conversation with Hal Steinbrenner after the Yankees elimination. He's frustrated. He's disappointed. He wants a championship here for him and his family. Oh, my God. It's just so touching to fucking read. Hal wants a championship, and he's frustrated. He wants it for his family. Oh, so sweet of the owner to not fucking show up to the press conference and answer some damn questions. They do believe many times that we've had the chance to do something. He knows opportunity lost for all of us. Cashman continues at what it could take to win the World Series. We've done it. Hal Steinbrenner has done it, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to continually do it. It's been 16 fucking years. You're not even close to continually doing it. You're puffing your chest about the core four that was not built by you and you taking credit for their success. After the core four, you've done nothing. Nothing. To say we've done it, Hal Steinbrenner's done it, but it's not a guarantee they're going to continually do it. You haven't continually done anything but fucking lose for 16 years. What are we talking about here? Jesus Christ. All you can count on is putting together a strong process with really good people. Your process doesn't equal winning. The really good people don't equal winning. When is it going to equal winning? Quality players that care and are committed can stay healthy, play to the best of abilities, and keep trying to do it again and again and again and again and again. Oh, God, reading this shit is nauseating. Nauseating. It's our Brian Cashman on the role of the front office and the manager. It's our job to put together the talent and provide the team. It's their job to decide the lineups, who to put in the rotation, who's coming in from the pen, etc. The manager that you are entrusting to do all of these things is a soft loser. He's an excuse maker. He's a dork. Nobody respects this motherfucker. He's the soft substitute teacher that comes in for the mean teacher that you usually have, and he's a pushover, and the whole crowd starts acting up. He's the parent that wants to be a friend instead of a fucking disciplinarian, and the kid acts out and acts like a fucking crazy person and gets away with all kind of bullshit. You're talking about lineups and rotation and the bullpen and building the team and the talent and giving it all to Aaron fucking Boone. Oh, God. And everyone wants to give Aaron Boone credit for another 90-win season. That's like congratulating Steve Kerr for, being some fucking generational talent at fucking head coach because he had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and fucking Kevin Durant. Anyone can operate that fucking team. Anyone can be handed Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole and Giancarlo Stanton and Cody Bellinger and Max Fried and Carlos Rodon in the regular season and win 90 games. It's not that fucking hard. You can put the guys out there and they'll do it themselves. But when it comes to building a culture of guys that work hard, building a culture that doesn't fold when adversity happens, like losing 4 straight to the Blue Jays in the middle of the season during the June swoon or July, whatever the fuck month it was. The team that has continually beat your ass and you get a 4-game set against them to, make an impact in the division and you get fucking swept. You fold every fucking time. When shit gets bad, it gets really bad because there's no leadership in that fucking room. The manager is soft as shit. He can't rally the troops. Culture matters. The way a team responds during times of adversity matters and reflects on the leader in the clubhouse. Yes, talent matters. A lot of people argue that a manager in baseball doesn't have as much of an impact as obviously a head coach in the NFL or a basketball coach because basketball rosters are much smaller. So I don't know. But if you are the New York Yankees and you've got the power of that payroll and you're getting handed these great players every season, you're assumed to win 90, 95 games in the regular season. Look at the team. They're built to do that. So you're giving Boone credit for basically a self-operating fucking team. But when shit hit the fan in October, when all of a sudden all of your pre-planned fucking plans don't work out and shit gets a little spicy, you got to think on your toes. You got to make decisions that go against the game plan because things changed. He doesn't do that well. And the feel for the game, continually going to Luke Weaver over and over again when he's clearly struggling and working on things. He should not be in the game if he's working on things in crunch time against great teams, in big moments. That can't be happening. You can't be going to a Nestor after missing 2 months and just working side sessions and expect him to go out there and get fucking Freddie Freeman in the World Series, game 1 of the World Series at Dodger Stadium. The feel for the game is not fucking there. And it's sad because this is a guy whose whole family is involved in baseball for a million fucking years. So you would think Aaron Boone would have a little bit of fucking sense, and he doesn't have it. But that just goes to show you, these guys, say what you want about Girardi, all right? I'm not going to sit here and say he was a great manager in Philly. I'm not going to say he was a perfect person. He did have his binder. He did have, Girardi wasn't perfect, but he would ream your fucking ass, and he did have some good instincts. And he took a team full of big personalities, egos, A-Rod, Jeter, Robinson Cano, Andy Pettit, CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada. Look at the names. It takes a guy who can command a fucking room and demand respect to win with a group like that. And, if you just have some lollygagging, goofy, soft manager in there, sometimes it could be, tough to rally the troops. But Girardi was respected. He was a champion. He was a former Yankee. He was a guy who was tough. He was gritty. He was on Gary Sanchez's ass. He had a team full of young guys in 2017, way ahead of schedule, get to Game 7 in the ALCS and be 1 game from a World Series. So that right there is a testament to what kind of impact the manager can possibly have on a group. It's not a perfect science. There's not a way to measure it. I've been in a lot of clubhouses myself. I've played with guys who got drafted, and I trained with Michael Tonkin, who's a big leaguer. He probably doesn't remember me, but we were all in the same field. We're all sitting working out. I've been around guys, rub some elbows. Dana Eveland is a former big leaguer. I've been around him. Robert Refsnyder, I played against him in the playoffs. A lot of guys I played with and against got drafted and this and that. One of my buddies I just worked with, he got drafted by the Cleveland Indians and all this bullshit through 98 in high school. I've been around guys I've been in locker rooms myself. I played in college. I've been around guys who've been the highest level. We talk baseball all the time. You got to have a guy in there who commands respect. You got to have a guy in there who has a great process You need to have a manager in there that emphasizes the little things, the details, the fundamentals, doing things right. We don't fuck up on this team. All right. Having some of that built into the culture while you have a great roster, while you're trying to go win baseball games matters. It makes it trust me, if you haven't been in there, you just won't get it. And that's why it just irritates the fuck out of me. All these people who, play baseball when they're 8 years old want to come in here and talk about clubhouse dynamics and a culture. And, you've never been there. You don't fucking understand it. You've never seen it. You've never lived it. You've never been in those tough battles and had to rely on a leader of men. You've never seen it. You've never experienced it. So I'm not over here trying to gatekeep and shit. I'm just saying, if you don't think a manager setting a culture makes a difference, you just don't know. And it's not your fault. But I'm just telling you for you. Call me what you want. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying it matters. Aaron Boone, dude, it was 8-9 years now. The same June Boone swoon every summer. Everything's always okay. We'll get him next time, guys. We're fine. Volpe's really fucking elite. Pointing his finger at fucking Meredith. He's over there giving attitude to the John Boy guys. It's just goofy. It's corny. It's run its course. There needs to be a new voice in there. The guy is not a good manager. We've seen it. He's getting handed this roster, star players, good roster. Cashman has his faults, but there's enough. He doesn't finish teams, but he gets enough star players there to win 90-95 games in the regular season. He historically misses out on the left field or bullpen's not addressed, or back of the rotation is not great, or third base not great. But you have a Judge, you have a Stanton, you have a Garrett Cole, you got Carlos Rodon and Fried in the playoff in the regular season. There's enough guys there to win 95 games and make the playoffs. Team isn't always finished, but you're giving Boone enough to win here, to at least win the regular season and hopefully win the playoffs. I don't think the roster has been constructed well enough to go deep into the playoffs. And it clearly hasn't after seeing what we've seen the last million fucking years. But Boone is not the right guy for this group. But he does enough, and he's in lockstep with the front office enough where he's going to continue to get opportunities. And he's going to stick around because they all think the same way. And at the end of the season, they don't point fingers at each other. They just chalk it up to luck. It was just random luck. It's a crapshoot. We like our process. We like our goofy puppet manager who just does whatever the fuck we tell him because he's in lockstep with us. Like, the whole process and the whole philosophy of this group, it just drives me absolutely fucking nuts. If you can't tell already, since I'm just sitting here fucking rambling about this shit. But yeah, it's just disappointing. I was, I'm old enough to remember, enough of the 2009 World Series to remember how excited I was about it. And I went to the mall and I got my championship shirt and my championship hat. And I was in high school. I was still pretty young, but, I watched every game. I remember AJ Burnett pitching great in game 2. I remember, going back and forth with Ryan Howard and Chase Utley and Cliff Lee. Brad Lidge was the closer. Pedro Martinez was pitching for the Phils at that time. Chucho Ruiz, the catcher. I mean, they had a good team. The Yankees had a really good team. Matsui went off. Andy Pettit was pretty good. He gave up some runs, but he was good enough. I remember Johnny Damon in Philly running to third base when nobody was there and freaking the fuck out because I thought he was running into it out. And it was just an open base where nobody was there. I remember A-Rod's double down the line. I remember enough of it to remember how I enjoyed it, but it would just hit differently as an adult. So I want to see another one, man. It's been 16 years. It's frustrating as fuck. We've all been, there's a whole generation of new Yankee fans, young guys, young girls out there who, all they know is failure. They were little kids or they weren't even born yet in 2009. So they obviously can't remember it. All they hear about every day is, the Yankee dynasty, the Yankees in the 90s, the Yankees early 2000s, 09, 09, the replay of Mariano Rivera getting the last out over and over again. That's all they know. They never experienced it. And me personally, I growing up, I wasn't able to go to New York and do that shit every year. So I would love to see a championship parade in person. I want to see the Canyon of Heroes. I want to see how cool that shit is. I want to feel the vibe in New York when they finally fucking win. So I've seen one World Series. I was pretty young for the the late '90s, early 2000s stuff. Not old enough to really remember much of it, which sucks, But I got '09, which is cool. But it's long overdue, man. It's long fucking overdue. The American League is going to keep getting better. The Blue Jays looked solid. The Mariners had a really good season. The Red Sox are going to be good again. The Tigers are probably going to be good again. Who the hell knows what happens with Skubal? But AJ Hinch is a good manager. They have a good group over there. It's not going to be a cakewalk for the Yankees. They got some guys getting older. Aaron Judge, Stanton, Garrett Cole. You're going to see an influx of young guys. You're going to see, Cam Schlittler back out next season. You're going to see, Rodriguez and LaGrange or LaGrange, however you say his name. There's some good arms. There's some good young players. They just drafted, I forget the guy's name. They just drafted that young guy. It looks pretty solid. I think he's already like a top 5 prospect. You got Lombard Jr., there's guys coming, but you need to win with an Aaron Judge, man. They just don't grow on trees. There needs to be more urgency. And we just don't see enough of it, unfortunately. Let's see. Gina says, '09 was a completely different fan experience. Yes, it was a very fucking long time ago. Yankee Great says, if Yankees' approach was like Toronto playing fundamental baseball, they might be in there right now. It's crazy because the Blue Jays I think they were in last place in 2024. They ended up winning the division this season, pretty quick turnaround in 1 year. And Vladdy signed a long-term extension and everyone thought it was a rebuild. No one expected that what they're doing right now, but their lineup is relentless as fuck. I didn't think their pitching was good enough, but it's been good enough. And when you have a lineup like that just makes the other team's life hell for 9 innings, you can afford for a Gossman or a Chris Bassett or a Savage or who else was pitching for them? I forgot. You can afford for some of your pitching to give up runs when you know that your lineup's got your back, and they're gonna face the Dodgers here soon. Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani throwing 100. It's going to be interesting to see if that approach is going to work against them, and I think it will. We've seen it work against a lot of hard throwers against the Mariners. You saw Max Fried get his fucking shit pushed in against them. It's going to make Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani, it's going to make them have to find ways to get outside of getting strikeouts because they don't chase much, they don't strike out much, they don't swing and miss much. So they're going to have to pitch to contact. They're going to have to be effective in the strike zone. They're going to have to mix their pitch sequencing. They're going to have to disguise some things with arm speed, tunneling, all those different things, and they're going to have to get that Blue Jays lineup out enough times, even though with a little bit of a struggling bullpen, to win a World Series. So it's going to be very entertaining to see, how the Dodgers pitching approaches the Blue Jays lineup. But that's the question. How do the Yankees get to a lineup where they can do similar things? Because we see a lot of guys get there and they just wave at bullshit. Bad at bats, not clutch with runners in scoring position, can't move runners, hit a bunch of ground balls, pop-ups. Hitting home runs, like a lot of people will say, wins baseball games. But the Blue Jays do some of the good things in between hitting home runs that equals good outcomes. Hitting behind runners, punching ground balls through the infield for base knocks when you're behind in the count, or 3-2-2-2. Spoiling tough pitches and living to see another at bat, driving up the pitch count from the opposing pitcher. They do a lot of those little things in between the home runs that equals sustained pressure on a pitcher. Which the Yankees don't do enough. How many times can you think of the Yankees hitting in double plays, quick 1, 2, 3 innings? Too many situations where the opposing starting pitcher's pitch count is in good shape, and you're not putting enough pressure on him to equal that that outcome of him making a mistake and hitting the home run, 3-run home run or a 2-run homer. So how do the Yankees get to that? Who the hell knows? That's Brian Cashman, Mr. fucking Brainiac's job to figure out. Because what he's been doing is not working. It's just not. So that's going to be a tough one for them to figure out. And you're going to have to go beat the Blue Jays again next year. You're going to have to tailor your roster to competing with them. Your pitching has got to get them out. Your lineup's going to have to compete with them. Your bullpen's going to have to get them out. You're going to have to do it again. Red Sox will be back too. So that division is going to be a fucking bloodbath again next season. Going to be tough. Marissa says, can you imagine if we got a new guy and we just went back to the World Series like the old days? That would be insane, and it would be a huge testament to how bad Aaron Boone actually fucking is. Eddie, what's up, my guy? Says, I wonder if Hal will ever wake up and decide to fire Boone. I don't think that'll happen. I think he's cool with 95 wins every year, getting to the playoffs and figuring shit out after that. He's content. Eddie Snap says, my high school biology teacher, Coach Jackson Holiday. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a good, really good player. I don't live I live about an hour away from LA, so I'm not super central to LA, but it's weird. A lot of really good baseball players have come out of here. Jason Kubel was a good player for a long time. Again, Tonkin was a good player here, and struggled in the big leagues, but he's had moments where he's been decent. There's been guys that came through here, that got drafted, guys that played in the minors, guys that got to the bigs. I played against guys that got to the bigs. So it's crazy how you look at what a professional athlete really looks like. I was a decent player. I was good enough to play varsity in high school. I was good enough to play a little bit in college. I was a pitcher, had some arm injuries, and that was about it. Played some wood bat leagues, had some fun, but that was about it. For the majority of baseball players, eventually you got to get a fucking job and realize you're not going to be a big leaguer. So it's crazy to see what a real big leaguer looks like when you see it in person, when you're sharing the same field, when you're competing against them, when you're watching how they prepare, how they attack hitters on the mound, how they attack pitches in the box. It's different. It's not your everyday, run of the mill baseball player. So pretty crazy to see that up close in person like that, or play with them, play against them. It's pretty wild. All right. Bernard is here. Let's go. He says, you mean contact hitters who can make a pitcher throw 10 to 12 pitches to get them out? That is ideal. Make those pitchers work, man. Get the pitch count up. Spoil tough pitches. Live to see another one. Put the ball in play. Don't KL the damn time. That's people will call you a boomer. People will say you don't know the fucking sport, whatever. We're watching the Blue Jays do it right now. So if you got any questions about what works, the Blue Jays kick the shit out of us in the regular season. They kick the shit out of us in the playoffs, and they run the World Series. So, obviously it works for them. Arsalan Rana, hi, how's it going? Thanks for being in here. I'll be honest, we already know what's next year outcome will be. It's a depressing part about it. Is pretty damn depressing. It's come to the point where we are hoping that the Yankees players and the roster will somehow be able to win in spite of Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman sometimes doesn't finish rosters. He adds some players, doesn't finish it. Doesn't emphasize certain aspects of the bullpen, keeps running Volpe out there, stuff like that. We've seen him, not getting the left fielder. We've seen him leave third base vacant. He's done things that, get the team to win 95 games, but doesn't finish and complete the roster to get them over the top. You're just going to have to hope the group that's there is good enough to overcome the shit manager and the GM who has a crazy ego. Michael G says, I'm old enough to remember all of 1996. It's so nostalgic. I want to feel it again. That's lucky, man. That's awesome. I wish I could have been, around for that stuff. 09, completely different. Eddie says, AJ's only good a year, got us a ring. Glad it wasn't wasted unlike Boone years. Yeah, AJ Burnett. I remember the Yankees lost the first game of that World Series in 09, and AJ Burnett was phenomenal in game 2 to deliver that win. It was awesome. Let's see. Looking at some more of these replies. Gina says, I'll take Girardi back any day. I think so too. Phillies, different roster, different group, different organization, different setting, everything different. But we saw Girardi take a group of kids to within one game of the World Series in 2017 against a team that was cheating. Why did he not get an opportunity to run it back with that group the next season? And then if he doesn't win in 18, then you move on. But why did he not even get a chance to run it back? That's what is so irritating to me. But I think, after hearing him in the booth during these games, hearing him understand a lot of different things, he's into some analytics. He's into some of the old school approach. You need a blend. You need a mix. You need a happy medium. I think Girardi would be a good fit for this group. I really do. You know, he'd hold the young guys accountable. You know, just like, you know, Gary Sanchez was practically in fucking tears. But if you go on Twitter, go into Gary Sanchez's tweets, and you'll see that he thanked Girardi profusely when Girardi was not brought back. So Gary Sanchez got the tough love. You know, he went through his struggles. He was coached really hard by Joe Girardi, and at the end, he thanked him. Thanked him. Everyone's narrative was, oh, Girardi was a dickhead to fucking Gary Sanchez, blah, blah, you know, whatever. He thanked him, you know, for the work, for pushing him, you know, being hard on him, being a good coach. So, you know, I'd love to see it again. I don't, you know, there's a Bruce Bochy floating around, you know, there's different names out there, but the Yankees are always like, oh, Boone hits the free market, he's going to get, you know, signed by somebody pretty quickly. Whatever, man. If that's what makes you keep him around just because someone else might sign him, you know, that just shows me how insecure you are. He's not that good. He's shown you for 8-9 years. You're going on 9 years, 8 years. I don't know what it is. I've lost track of the fuckery, but he's shown enough to show you that he's not the guy. There needs to be a change of voice in there. And Joel Sherman is our saving grace. He's the only guy that'll push Cashman. He'll push Aaron Boone. They had that famous scuffle last season in the, I think it wasn't winter meeting. I think it was spring training. Joel Sherman went at Cashman talking about, you know, why is some of the player development of the position players like Volpe, why is Volpe struggling? Why isn't he better? You know, did you miss on him? Blah, blah. And Cashman snaps back at him. Oh, when Volpe's hitting this year, you know, you're going to look back and think this was stupid, whatever. Well, we're looking back and you look stupid, Brian Cashman. So Joel Sherman is a guy who is going to go out there and he's going to push these guys. And he basically called them the red zone Yankees, where they're good enough to get you in the red zone, just like the NFL, good enough to get you within 20 yards of the end zone, but they cannot finish. And they asked Aaron Boone, I don't know if it was Sherman who asked him this, but someone asked Aaron Boone during their, you know, after the season presser. He said, what is it? Why haven't you guys won? What's it going to take to finally win? And Aaron Boone said, I don't know. Like, what do you mean I don't know? The leader of men, the head of the group doesn't fucking know. So he's just walking in there hoping it just fucking happens one day. Don't know what it is. Our process is good, bro. I don't know. Everything we're doing is right. Never fucking held accountable. Their process is always good. They always got all the answers. Smartest fucking person in the room. You know, just never fails with these people. It's pathetic. Their answer is pathetic. Hal Steinbrenner not showing up, pathetic. Just a disgusting press conference to watch after how disappointing the season was. Yankee fans for the last 2 seasons have been run through the ringer, man. Finally get back to the World Series for the first time in 15 years, and you lose in embarrassing fashion. The Kirk Gibson 2.0 happens in Game 1. Game 5 is a clusterfuck that's forever. Judge drops the ball in center field. Garrett Cole doesn't cover first base. It's just awful. The Dodgers celebrate the World Series on your home turf. And they clown you in the media for weeks and weeks after the World Series, saying you just got to put the ball in play. They'll find a way to fuck it up, blah, blah, blah. Clowning your ass. You get back to the next season. Okay, run it back. Garrett Cole fucking elbow blows up. Got to get Tommy John. Oh, fuck. Okay. Max Fried's in the house. Cool. Great regular season. Carlos Rodon, those are changing up. Good regular season, blah, blah. Get the playoffs, get your fucking shit pushed in by the same divisional rival that beat your ass all season. So we are down atrocious over here, man. We're fed up. We have no patience. 16 years is a long fucking time. And you get fans like the Pirates fans or Twins fans or, bro, it's been a million fucking years. You guys are only worried about 16. It's expectations. It's the name brand and the power and the brand recognition and the revenue and, having the huge payroll and the ability to attract superstars. I think, Max Fried, obviously it was either a money thing or he actually wanted to be there. I don't know. They just paid him a bunch of money. Maybe that was just what it was for him. Rodon fell for the same thing, but you've got the Yankees have everything you possibly need to win. The money, some star players, all this different stuff. And the expectations every year are to win. Get to the playoffs every year. You got to win. You don't. When you have those expectations and you have all of that ability to acquire good players and the money and the name notoriety and the worldwide brand power in the sporting world, and you just continually fall flat in your face. Everyone clowns you. Everyone's making fun of you. The big bad Yankees are a fucking joke now. They're not like the 90s, blah, blah, blah. Times changed. Their process is antiquated. It doesn't work in the playoffs. It hasn't worked for a long time. So it's exhausting as a Yankee fan, especially these younger Yankee fans that haven't seen a World Series. All they know is doom and gloom. All they know is disappointment and sadness and, getting clowned. So it's not the same. Pirates fans, you go into the season expecting to lose. You don't have your hopes up. It's different when you have your hopes up and the team has the capability of doing it and you expect them to do it. And after 16 years, they continually don't do it. That's exhausting. As a Colts fan, they're good this year, which is a fucking surprise to me. I had no clue Daniel Jones was going to be this good. No, I don't think anybody did. There's a couple of Daniel Jones believers out there, maybe like 2%, but 98% of people thought this was going to be a fucking flop. Anthony Richardson is shit. Daniel Jones, was historically a bad player. But they look great. And it feels like house money to me. Why does it feel like that? Because of expectations. Last several seasons, last decade plus as a Colts fan. I just don't expect them to be great. I don't expect the Super Bowl. I expect to turn on the TV and watch them because I enjoy the team. I'm a fan and I enjoy watching football. But I don't have the expectations of the Chiefs the last 5 years. Or the Bills, trying to get over the hump with Josh Allen, trying to win a Super Bowl. Expectations coming into the season and expecting to be in the playoffs, expecting to win, and not doing it like the Bills have for a while. That's exhausting. Or the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, always in the mix, never getting over the hump. So just like the Yankees, the last 16 years, expect to be there. Good players, get to the playoffs. Doesn't happen. It's exhausting. We've been through the ringer. It's irritating. And it's especially irritating when you're always gaslighted by the front office. You're gaslighted by the manager. Everything's always okay. Everything's always, we'll just get it next time. It's just always just the same bullshit you're being fed over and over again. Not enough changes to get you over the top, get you over the hump. It's just status quo every year. Same old shit. Folding in June, folding in the playoffs, finding a way to fucking lose games in embarrassing fashion and get clowned for it. It's just, that is exhausting. So, it's everything's all sunshine and rainbows in Dodgerland. They got everything figured out. They got a whole pile of money, great players over there. But, you look over here to Yankee Land, it's dark clouds and sadness. No rainbows over here, pal. No sunshine. We don't deserve it. We get sadness and disappointment. That's all we get. Let's see. Ravon, what is up, my man? Thanks for being in here. He says, if Boone gets extended again, I'm going to have a mental breakdown. They can't be that tone deaf. They cannot be that tone deaf to extend him again. If they do that, all bets are off, man. It's going to be a 25-year World Series drought, 30, 40, 50, 100 fucking years until they win again, if they're that stupid. And don't you fucking think Brian Cashman won't live to be 160 fucking years old, because he's going to be alive forever. He's going to be the GM of the Yankees forever. He's going to own it. It's going to be it's going to be tough. All you can do is fucking laugh and make fun of it. I mean, it's so agonizing and fucking irritating. It just drives me absolutely fucking insane. You got to have some fun with it, or else you're going to be banging your head into a wall until you fucking go to sleep. Lou says, what your offseason plan be? It's, like I said earlier, it's hard to tell with, who's going to be a free agent, who's not going to be a free agent, who gets qualifying offers, who takes advantage of their option, and who gets traded, who doesn't, a lot of things that need to happen. So it's a little difficult to know who is going to be available, who to sign, what the money's going to be. I think they need to add another starter. I think they need to add 2 to 3 bullpen arms that throw hard, four-seam fastball, good hard slider. They got to figure something out with position players too. You're going to have possibly Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez out there floating around. Aaron Judge probably not going to be an outfielder very long. Do you go for Kyle Tucker? Do you bring Bellinger back because of his versatility? Does Volpe play shortstop again once he's healthy? Come in for Caballero. Can Austin Wells take the next step offensively as a catcher? Is Ben Rice going to continue to hit like he's hitting? Can you get anything out of Ryan McMahon offensively at third base? So there's a lot of question marks. It sucks, but I think most of this roster is going to be the same next year. They probably add a few arms. I think maybe Bellinger comes back. I don't think they're going to pay top dollar for Kyle Tucker. And they're just going to run it back and hope it fucking works out. So It's not my plan. I just don't know what's out there, honestly. Like, if I could, read Brian Cashman's mind and be a fly on the wall for all the calls he makes and see who's out there and what it would cost, I mean, maybe we can have a better idea. But, once the offseason comes and we understand who's going to return to their teams, who's not, who's going to opt out, who'll be free agents, who's going to get traded, who's on the trade block, then you can start being like, okay, I want that motherfucker right there. But for now, I don't know. Most of these guys are penciled into their spots. You're just going to have to hope they hit in the playoffs. You're going to have to hope Fried and Rodon can pitch in the playoffs next year because, what they did this season can't happen again. Max Fraud and Carlos Robum cannot combine for a 15-16 ERA in the playoffs. You're not going to win. Like, even if Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole again, or Cam Schlittler is the fucking, the reincarnation of Garrett Cole backing him up, it's going to be hard to win playoff series if Carlos Robum and Max Fraud are going to keep shitting themselves. They get paid too much money. They're going to be pitching in important baseball games against good lineups. They have to find a way to figure out this shit. So that's going to be huge. Unfortunately, most of this roster is penciled in. The same one that just got bounced in the ALDS, and I don't think there's going to be many changes. But maybe I will be wrong and a miracle will happen, but I don't foresee that trying to happen. Ravon says, I'm praying Lombard has the greatest return of all time so we don't have to see Volpe again. I think it's still early on Lombard. I think he's going to get a full season next year in Double-A. Best case scenario, maybe he cracks Triple-A late and then they consider him to be an everyday player in 2027. But 2027 might be a lockout year. We don't know what the hell is going to happen with that. So that's another thing that's going to factor into what Hal Steinbrenner does this offseason with Brian Cashman is, what's the new CBA going to look like in 2027? Do they go tentative or do they go, a little bit conservative and tread carefully with, handing out tons of money before that happens? So it's just so much up in the air. People want a salary cap. People don't want a salary cap. It's probably going to be a work stoppage in 2027. We're going to see maybe no baseball at all. That might be how far apart some of these players and owners and the negotiating is. But if the Dodgers win another World Series this season, things are going to get very fucking ugly in 2027. The deferred money, how high their payroll was after paying luxury taxes and stuff like that. I think it was like $550 million. And I'm not hating on it. I wish my team would do that. The Yankees made $750, $770 revenue. And they used less than 50% of it. So, the Yankees can pay to play. The Yankees can go out and, try to overpay to get the same players the Dodgers did. Blake Snell was out there floating around for a while. They could have gone harder for Yamamoto. I think Yamamoto was always going to the Dodgers, but I don't know. Maybe you offer him $350 and $365, and maybe the money difference is worth it. Teoscar Hernandez floating around. I think he's always going back too. But, they're adding great players year after year after year. They're going to be in on Kyle Tucker. So, the Yankees can do the same thing. They have the revenue, they have the money, but they always blame the bondholders. They blame, ownership being spread out amongst a bunch of other people. They run it like a business. So they want to stay around 50% of their revenue being, translated into payroll, and it's just going to have to be how it is. I don't think it's ever going to change. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Gina says this repeated soft management equals zero accountability, excuses, zero expectations, zero urgency, chronic disappointment. You're 1,000% right. I feel every bit of that. It's just all year, during the season. And I know they're not going to spill their guts to us in the media. They're not going to come out and slander their own team. They're not going to panic. But it seems like the team-wide philosophy is everything's always going to be okay. We'll go get it tomorrow. Things are going to be fine. We're good. Everything's always chill, cool, even keel. I want to see some fire. I want to see someone pissed off. I don't know who the hell was yelling in the Mariners dugout yesterday or clubhouse during that whole postseason interview, but that motherfucker was pissed. I want to hear some of that shit. I want to see people crying. I want to see people taking out fucking water jugs like Paul O'Neill used to do. I want to hear stories about, someone like Jorge Posada grabbing somebody by the fucking neck and pinning him against the wall. I want some fire from this group, man. I want some intensity. I want some fucking testosterone flowing through my fucking television to where I could feel it. That's just what I want, But everything's always got to be PC. Everything's got to be too cool for school. The Yankees always know more than you. You're a fucking peasant. Stop questioning us. So irritating. It's frustrating, as you can tell by my fucking voice, but that's just how shit is with them. And it's frustrating as shit. But every year we're buying tickets, we're buying merch, we're going to the games, we're filling the fucking stadium. So, because we enjoy the game, and they know that Yankee fans are diehards. Plus, the fact that Yankee Stadium is essentially a tourist attraction in New York. So you have dedicated diehard fans that will never stop coming. Plus the traffic you're going to get from tourists, and you have a money-making machine out there. So, it's hard to just quit like that and stop watching games or stop going to baseball games when they're close by, or not buying a Yankee hat. If you ever see, I mean, obviously most of you don't live in Southern California if you're watching me, but since I was a little kid, there's always a Yankee hat on my fucking head, a Yankee hat, a Yankee sweater, a Yankee logo on my phone, like just Yankeed out all the fucking way. Like, we are dedicated diehard fans, and we're passionate as fuck. And we care about the player personnel. We care about the optics. We care about getting clowned by our friends who watch us fail every fucking year. It just sucks that the organization takes advantage of that. They know you're going to show up. They know you're going to keep buying shit. So the urgency is not there, and they just think you're a fucking peasant. Keep buying those damn hats. Keep going to those fucking games. Keep buying those fucking $20 beers. Keep buying the fucking hoodies when it gets cold. Keep buying all the new merch. And then you bitch after the season. You're going to keep doing it. So there's no incentive for them to stop doing what they're doing, because you're going to keep doing everything you're doing. And I'm guilty of it. Like, I'm wearing all the shit right now. I'm wearing all the bullshit. It's on my fucking wall. It's hanging right here. I'm guilty of it too. It just is what it is. But it's unfortunate that they take advantage of us in that way. That's just how I feel. A lot of people feel like that. A lot of fans feel this way. A lot of us feel like the owner doesn't give a fuck as much. There's quotes coming out where Hal Steinbrenner was more into music and fucking art, and he wasn't really ever into baseball. Okay, then give it to someone who fucking cares more, bro. Like, it's got to be some member in your fucking family you can pass the responsibility down to who will care more. Cashman's all smug. Never fucking question me. I'm the smartest man in the fucking room. I won a World Series with a core that was built by somebody else. I'm the fucking hot shit. Whatever. Aaron Boone, scream at John Boy guys like a fucking clown. Cookie cutter, bullshit answers, PC after the game. Pointing at fucking Meredith, saying Volpe is real, very fucking elite, or whatever the hell he told her. These guys are clowns, man. It's just so unfortunate. One of the most powerful brands in sports, owned and operated and ran by the biggest goofy fucks you've ever seen in your life. But I don't know. I just feel like things will never change. The Yankees play in San Francisco to start next season. I'll probably go to that shit. So, I'm just a fucking cuck like everybody else. It's unfortunate, but I like the sport. I love baseball. I like to watch Aaron Judge try to hit home runs in person. It's entertaining. We're dedicated fans. It's hard to take that out of somebody. You just can't. I understand being frustrated and this and that, and it's just hard to take out something that's just been like ingrained in you since you were a little kid. Like, it's just part of you. But that's why we're so passionate about this shit. That's why we're so angry. That's why we're so irritated, because we love the New York Yankees. We remember our childhood. We remember shit going well. We're just nostalgic about how things used to be, and watching Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez and fucking Jorge Posada and Bernie Williams and Tino Martinez and, Paul O'Neill and all these guys, and Jason Giambi. I remember Matsui coming to New York and how crazy it was to see him hitting bombs. Jason Giambi always had wet hair for some reason. He's so fucking roided out of his mind. Andy Pettitte, Roger Clemens, like, we're very nostalgic for, the way the Yankees used to be and what they used to represent and how competitive things were and, how good they were. They won. It's hard. That's what's ingrained in us as the past. And we're nostalgic for that. We want that again. And the future just doesn't reflect what we used to feel. So it's tough. It's tough to come to grips with the reality. It just feels like we're stuck in this vicious cycle of bullshit. Same old thing every year. Same excuses. Same responses. Same owner looking soft as shit. Same egotistical, condescending fucking prick of a GM. Aaron Boone, soft as baby shit. Look like a fucking Keebler elf over here, spilling his fucking guts out to guys on John Boy. He gets all fucking angry at them or an umpire, but he's over here coddling all those fucking players. It's just, I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's irritating. this is why I have my fucking Twitter, and this is why I made this fucking channel. So we can vent, so we can talk baseball, so we can get the shit off our chest. Imagine if we were just sitting here, just fucking stirring with all these thoughts and fucking emotions and all this fucking pent-up anger. That's not healthy for you, man. That's not healthy at all, which is why I am mostly a crazy person on Twitter. I apologize if you don't like it. And I am a little bit crazy and rant and just fucking yap all day long on this fucking channel when I have the time to do it. I apologize. So that, this thing has evolved early. I thought I could do every post game, and then try to do once a week or every other week. And, things just didn't work out as well. But throughout the off season, I'll try to, find some time to do some, some winter meetings, or what is the team looking like if they make a big trade, if they sign somebody. One of these days Boone will get fired, and I will have the time of my life, and I will record it, and we will all share a very happy experience at that time. But until then, all we can do is hope. We're just stuck in this vicious cycle of bullshit with these people. And all we can do is hope that the team is good enough to win in spite of their shit management and the shit that we know is wrong within the organization, because we do have good beat reporters. We have guys like Joel Sherman that question these guys. And the proof is in the pudding. 16 years without winning, with how big their payroll is and the star power, something's wrong in there. And it's very fucking obvious, and it's very apparent. But once again, I want to thank all you guys for being here. I'm probably going to wrap this up here soon. Usually I do this a little bit later. I know it works out better for some of you. I couldn't do that today. I had to start a little bit earlier than usual. But for those of you who did show up, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Once again, I will try to do this more. If you go to YouTube, you can also go to my Twitter page, and you can find the Lasagna Show on YouTube. I'm going to try to do some like YouTube shorts every now and then, just share a little bit of, bullshit reactions and stuff like that, and post it. It won't be on Twitter. So if you want to, if you want to engage with some of that stuff or see it, it will be there on YouTube here soon. We're going to the off season. It's going to be us watching other teams, celebrate once again. So we will go through that together. We'll talk about winter meetings and all the bullshit that comes along with the off season as we get ready for the start of the 2026 spring training. I need the break. I don't know about you guys. I need the fucking break. The Yankees are just tiring and exhausting to watch sometimes and think about, especially after all those press conferences the other day, listening to these fucking idiots talk. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. We are so far behind the 8 ball. It's not even close. But maybe we'll get lucky one year in the crapshoot derby in October and actually fucking win something for once. 16 years has been a long-ass time. Eddie says, I'll join you next time. Thank you, man. I will definitely keep that in mind. I'll message you. But once again, thank you guys for being here. If you want to follow the Lasagna Show, go on YouTube. You can go on my Twitter page as well. You can find the link. You can hit subscribe. You can comment, like it on my bullshit. And I will see you on Twitter. We're watching some football. We're watching baseball. We're doing the damn thing. We are still into it. And basketball started tonight, so I'll probably watch some of that. But until then, I will be letting you guys go. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you next time. Peace out, guys.